All right, everybody. We are here. I'm in the basement. My boy Taylor is not beside me. I mean, in the virtual world, he's beside me this
That's nice.
time. Mr. Yins himself at Shop Yins, the two Z's, wearing the Y's, the ones you'll always see on top of my head, except for right now because it's Indians opening day. But don't worry, I got it sitting right here. I'll be putting that bad boy back on as soon as we're done recording here on minor league opening day, at least for the AAA team. Yesterday, Major League opening day in Cincinnati. Uh, Taylor, how you doing, brother?
What's going on? Happy Friday. I'm great.
Yeah, yeah. Fridays are the best. It's just so weird. Like you get opening day, and I know that they put that like buffer day in there, but it's like the season starts, and then you don't have baseball. I mean, you have minor league baseball, which makes me extremely happy. But once you start, watching the Pirates play, it's like, okay, I just want this to kind of happen every day.
I got the little withdrawal shakes right now too. It's just like now that baseball's on, you expect it to be on every day. But hey, we
Yeah,
had a good it was a good treat yesterday. It really was.
yeah, and we were talking about it before we hopped on here. Just some of the feelings that we were having about this opening day. A cruise missile, G1 Bay running like a crazy man, Kutch just basically taking walks. I mean, the man, it's almost like they were pitching around him. It's
Yeah.
like old school Kutch. So, what's some of your thoughts on the game yesterday? What really stuck out to you?
I mean, like you said, all of that. One thing that we didn't mention, I'm very happy with the way Derek Shelton managed that game, from start to finish too. The lineup I thought was really good. Wasn't sure what to expect, and I liked how he handled the pitchers. I liked how the whole game went. I really do. So it was just exciting, man. It really was, and the pitch clock, we have to mention that because it's real season now, and I thought that went really well too. I was really excited for it.
Yeah, and what we talked about, another thing we talked about was Hunter Green. They mentioned on the broadcast yesterday, got to like an 0-2 count, and then to throw off the batter's rhythm, he just held the ball and just stared at the guy and took a ball and then tried to quick pitch. So there's like all kinds of little like ins and outs of things that are going to be happening that we didn't kind of have to deal with before.
I know it's going to be really neat to just to watch and see how creative some of these coaches get, and yeah, that was interesting. No, did that count as a pitch to his pitch clock or his pitch count? The
I don't
non-pitch.
I don't think it. I think it counts as like a ball, but it doesn't. They put like a little asterisk type thing by it. It's the same thing as if the new, I guess it would be balk rules. If you throw over 3 times or you disengage 3 times, there's something like within the thing that it doesn't really, it counts, but it doesn't count. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just really it's really weird. And the other thing you said was you were watching the game trying to get a workout in and missed the
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 double.
Reds. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Reds tying it back up.
it happened so fast. I mean, literally 30 seconds. I wasn't paying attention for, and I missed like 5 pitches. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's just the weirdest thing because I was saying like how am I gonna go to the bathroom in between? Usually it's like, oh, I could go to the bathroom in between innings, and all of a sudden it's like even the time in between innings, it's just like everything's sped up. The batter's in there. It's just like, oh, if this guy's coming up, I know that this is going to be a long at bat because he's going to step out. He's a guy that
Mhm.
messes with his batting gloves, and I can run and get a beer. I can run and get something to eat. I can go to the bathroom. And I can come back, and you may miss like 1 or 2 pitches,
Exactly. Yeah, a quarter
but
of an inning. Yep.
now it's like I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, when I go to Pirates games, we've been to one Pirates game last year together, and we stood the whole time. I mean, we interact, we're talking with people, and so I mean, I don't think if you're that type, but if I'm taking the kids, I'm probably going to miss like half the game.
Mm.
Taking the kids to get something to eat, taking the kids to go to the bathroom, and
Exactly.
so
Another pro shop. Yep.
yeah, it just doing different stuff. It's like you're gonna have to get there, early before the game if you're, gonna hang out a little bit more. Because like once you get to your seat, if you're gonna sit down, then you might as well. You're just gonna have to stay in your seat.
Exactly. Hey, and it's a quick game, and we talked about it's going to be weird. If games are quick, and it's going to be barely dark at the end of games, and come July and August. That'll be interesting. They're gonna have to keep selling beers for the whole game now instead of stopping at the 7th, because 7th is gonna be way too early.
Yeah, 7th is going to be like an hour and a half into the game when it would usually be 2.5 hours into the game.
Exactly. We'll be chugging a lot. I'll tell you that. Next Friday when we're at the game.
Yeah, next Friday is going to be a blast. I mean, there's I can kind of mention it now. There's some big things going on next week. Next Thursday, Allegheny City Brewing. That is at 507 Foreland Street. That's up in Deutschtown. They are going to be having Mitch Keller there. I believe starting at 4:30 to sign autographs. All going to be free because they are putting out a Keller beer, which they have named Mitch, which is, I mean, that's an amazing name for a beer.
I think so. I think it fits well.
It definitely does.
Great honor.
Yeah, and then the next day, me and you, we're going to be back down there again, probably around like 12:30 until around 3:00, doing a live podcast that we will run much smoother. You were kind of like the guinea pig down in Florida with, man, I didn't realize Bradenton just has like the worst cell phone and worst like Wi-Fi reception like anywhere.
It's hit or miss everywhere in Florida. Everywhere you go is a different spot. Where I live, AT&T is the best, and I have Verizon, so I can't even go in my backyard right now without losing service. Or I would be outside right now, but I'm upstairs in my office. But,
and the one thing is, I mean, we're talking about Mitch Keller. Mitch threw 100 pitches yesterday. Did you see that coming? Like first game of the year, like guys are getting built up, and usually it takes I mean, I know that he didn't even make it through the 5 innings. He had some trouble with walks, giving up a lot of soft contact except for the home run. And I think it was the double or the triple, but 100 pitches on opening day, that's kind of crazy.
I was happy with it. I mean, because I thought he earned it. Other than the first inning, made me a little nervous, having the bases loaded there with no outs. But I thought he did pretty well. I was really happy with the way he fought through that whole game, and I know he got pulled with that double, but I thought he did. I was happy with his performance. I wish he would have gotten a W out of it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean that's the worst part. I mean, if he would have just made it, I think they were kind of trying to leave him in there to let him work his way and to earn the win by getting himself out of that inning, the last one he was in, but just didn't work out that way. But I mean, all around, you got to be happy with the way the game went.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I liked how Shelton managed the game, and him leaving Mitch in through almost 5, I thought was awesome, because I feel like last year he might have been pulled a little earlier. I just hated seeing that. It's like, hey, let him work through their problems a little bit, and let him grow, and let him then deal with the bullpen after. So,
and that was one of the things, was that if we got to the Reds bullpen, because the Reds bullpen is it's a mess. I mean, you saw it yesterday. Was the guy's name, Fernando Cruz, just basically, I don't know if the Pirates even took like the bat off of their shoulder, because couldn't hit the strike zone whatsoever.
Walk. Yep.
Yeah, but if you got to Hunter Green, I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, he got his 8 strikeouts, but only went like 3 1/3 innings. So then once you get past him, I mean, it kind of opened that up, and I was kind of curious to what we were going to see from the Pirates bullpen. And that's the only thing we didn't mention is David Bednar getting the save was definitely huge. It's something that you basically, I mean, there were little things here and there. The Reds did score 4 runs on Mitch Keller, but there was enough other good stuff, and him working his way out of that that inning, walking the bases loaded, that was a big step for him. But I mean, this is a minor league podcast. We got through some of the major league stuff. Don't worry, but we couldn't not talk about opening day. But there's another opening day that I mentioned, and that's the Indianapolis Indians opening tonight. We got Luis Ortiz on the bump, which I called. People were kind of upset, and they were saying, why is he down in AAA? And I'm like, well, he'll be your AAA opening day starter. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. But the other thing that I kind of looked at is they put out what was going to be the rotation for this short little weekend series. They start off, with a 3-game series. You've got Luis Ortiz, then you have Caleb Smith, the lefty from Arizona, which I don't know if a lot of people know this, is the reason he made it to Arizona. He was in the Florida Marlins system. He went over to Arizona in the Starling Marte trade from Arizona to Florida, which is kind of just like a little fun fact there. But
Did not know that.
you need a lefty in the rotation, and then Mike Burrows rounding it out this weekend. But before we hopped on here, Taylor, we were talking about, some of the surprises of guys that weren't on the AAA roster. And what's the one that made you kind of just pause for a second when I said it?
Well, actually, I'm just, kind of funny. I'm on the website, right? AAA Indianapolis website right now, and Mason Martin is on the front page of the website for opening night, and he's down in Altoona.
Yeah, that is, to me, I mean, when I was like talking about this with John Moses from Altoona, and then I talked with Jack McMullen from Indianapolis, we talked about that there was going to be some assignments that a guy may be in AA to get, more at bats. And it was already announced that Henry Davis was going to be down in AA because they wanted Endy to get all the catching duties, or the majority of the catching duties, in AAA, with Henry getting the majority in Altoona. I was wondering, like with Malcolm Nunez, how much, work that Mason Martin was going to be able to get. And I guess Ben Cherington and then John Baker, who is, director of pitching and coaching for the minor leagues, kind of answered that and said, well, Mason Martin's going to get his at bats in Altoona.
I mean, that comes a huge shock because, like you said, he played all year last year in AAA. There was talks, hey, we needed a first baseman. He might even get a nod, if he played well enough in spring training. I mean, before the pickups we had in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, hey, I think it might be good for him. Come back, maybe hit some more bombs, strike out less, come back AAA, and then hot route himself up to the pros maybe next year if he's ready for it. But I like Mason Martin. I'm a believer. I hope he can sort out some of his kinks and get up here.
Yeah, it's that 35% K rate. He doesn't have the walk rate over 10%. So that's like kind of like I guess it would be the thresholds. It's like, okay, you can strike out 30% of the time, but you have to walk, more than 10% of the time. It's
right.
Just like kind of that balance. Just get on base. I mean, we know that the power's there. He performed fairly well in Altoona, not this last year, but the previous year. Earned like the cup of coffee with Indianapolis, and like you said, was in Indianapolis all year last year. But it kind of shows that, with Ben Cherington building up the minor leagues, that your spot isn't guaranteed. If this was previous seasons, Mason Martin probably would just be in Indianapolis, and there wouldn't be any questions about this. Another one, people were kind of shocked, but they obviously weren't listening to the last two episodes of Minor League News and Brews, once again with John Moses and Jack McMullen, because we talked about Liover Peguero starting in AA. That was something that I didn't even really question. Last year in Altoona, he tore it up for the first couple months, and then from it was like June on, over 300 plate appearances, had a 67 WRC plus, batted 230, had an OPS of 606. I mean, that is just not good. So they're thinking, everybody's thinking, that Nick Gonzalez gets the nod in AAA. Well, where's his double play partner in Liover Peguero? Well, they kind of answered that. He is going to start in Altoona.
Yeah, wait, Nick is in Altoona, right?
No, Nick is in Indianapolis.
Is he?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the roster right now. Why is he not showing up? That's so weird.
See, now you're making me think.
Well, yeah, no, I thought he was on AAA too, but I'm looking at the roster right now. He's not on the roster, which is, unless he just didn't update their website.
I think they did.
He's in AA.
No, he's announced as in AAA in their press release from today.
Okay. So it's just unupdated then.
Yeah, that they just didn't update I guess Anna Kaiser from Indianapolis, she wrote about the top prospects that are in AAA. You've got Quinn Priester, who's your number 5, Mike Burrows, your number 9, Nick Gonzalez, number 8, Jared Triolo, number 15, although he'll be starting out the year on the IL. He got a little bumped up, nicked up hand over there in minor league camp. You got Malcolm Nunez, who we mentioned at 21, Carmen Majinski, 22, Cody Bolton, 23, Colin Selby, 26. And then, of course, you have, Endy Rodriguez and Luis Ortiz, who is going to be the tandem tonight. So whoever hasn't, once this comes out on video, it'll come out at 5 o'clock. You'll still have time to either, get your MLB package, which comes with MILB TV, or if you live in the Pittsburgh area, just get the MILB TV. I think it's $29.99 for the entire season to watch Indianapolis starting tonight, Altoona next Thursday, Greensboro and Bradenton starting off next Friday. And I was looking at, some other guys who people were concerned about. And one would be Matt Gorski. And I just want to talk to people to try to kind of get them to not take the big jump as if, with Mason Martin. Mason Martin played all last year in AAA, like you said. Matt Gorski started off in Greensboro last year, tore up Greensboro, went to Altoona, was tearing up Altoona, and then was rounding second base, going to third, and tore up his hamstring, and was only able to come back for just a few games in Altoona, and then I think it was maybe one game in Indianapolis last year. So that one doesn't shock me as much. Plus, if you have Travis Swaggerty, you have Cal Mitchell, you have, I even mentioned a Chavez Young, who we had picked up, and we didn't get to see him play that much because he was playing for Great Britain. You have all these players that have to get at bats, and that's where a Caden Smith and Jigba making the team is a pretty big deal, because then you would have had to get him more at bats. So to me, Matt Gorski, I'm not as surprised with him, just because he got the cup of coffee. And I'll keep on going back to this. And I think Voice from the Graves, I'm going to give Graves a shout out. She had shared today on Twitter something that I had been talking about all off season. And it was Rob Biertempfel's interview with John Baker. He's at Man Bear Wolf, which is one of probably the coolest Twitter handles you'll ever find. He was talking to him and just basically said there's going to be some assignments where we think the guys can have the greatest amount of success and get, the number of at bats that they could get. So, you got Leover Peguero hopefully getting back on track. When I spoke with John Moses, he said that, Peggy just didn't look like himself the second half of the year, but what he saw of him, coming through, spring training, and he saw some of the spring training at bats, it looked like he was more back to his old self and having that type of approach. So, I mean, you could start him off in AAA, but if he starts to struggle, would it be better, to bump him down to AA after he struggles in AAA, or would it be better to, get him started and get him going, better in AA? The same thing with a Kyle Nicholas. That's something somebody else mentioned. Well, when I wrote out the starting rotation for Indianapolis, I didn't have Kyle Nicholas in there, but I also didn't have Caleb Smith in there. So it's not surprising to me. That was somebody that, had been mentioned as a possible, starting in Altoona. He didn't get a cup of coffee in Indianapolis last year. So it's not a big deal with the rearrangement of, the minor leagues over the past couple of years. There's guys that they said this is going to be one of the best crop of pitchers that the curve is going to have to go against, because you look at some of the other lineups across the Eastern League, you're going to be facing guys that you probably would normally have faced in AAA. So the level of competition between AA and AAA. So I'm not really super, worried about these assignments, other than the Mason Martin one, him taking that step back. That one, that one still, that's the one I can't get over. It definitely, I can see why they did it. He struggled there. And so they're hoping to maybe get him, back to his Altoona curve form. Yeah. And work that type of stuff out. I mean, I think he had a 115 WRC plus in his time in Altoona a couple years ago. Was still hitting a decent amount of bombs. Definitely had the OPS up there. The average is never going to be great. I think he was hitting the 240s there. But if you're hitting the bombs, you're still getting on base. Then you can kind of deal with that. So maybe, just letting him hit the reset button and get regular bats there. but I mean, it's showing that, Malcolm Nunez, with, you have the guys up there in Santana and G-Man Choi that they're probably not going to be here for the entire season. So Malcolm Nunez he's been given a legit shot to be on this roster by the end of the season.
I just think it was a good realignment in the whole minor league system. I mean, it's exciting. And I mean, do you think the AAA roster this year could beat the Pirates last year?
It's a possibility, man. I mean,
on the right night, I think so too.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look, like I said, you go around the horn and you have Malcolm Nunez and you have Nick Gonzalez at second. I'm assuming you're going to have, I mean, maybe Chris Owings at shortstop. The outfield's going to be packed. I mean, obviously, you're going to have Endy behind the plate for the majority of the time. I mean, they do still have, Tyler Heineman there. And I think they had another catcher there. It's like slipping my mind now is who it should be. Okay, they got Grant Koch, and he's just a great. I know people within the system, pitchers and stuff, can't say enough, good stuff about his preparation and everything. So, but yes, I mean, you're going to see Endy probably catch about 4 days a week. You're going to see, Henry catch 4 days a week down in Altoona, and within Altoona, they've even talked about. I mean, it's been out there that to keep Henry's, bat in the lineup, he's probably going to be playing some right field, which he played during which I didn't overreact to. Some people overreacted to it, and they're like, "Oh, Henry Davis, our new right fielder," and it's like, no, they do that kind of stuff in the minors. Guys don't always, play their natural position for, the full, 6-game stretch that they have now. And he can't.
Wasn't there a study that said that like 70% of major league catchers were third baseman or that didn't have the arm or a shortstop didn't have the range that kind of transitioned into catching in the minors? Because your knees, I mean, when you catch your whole life in the minors and get to the majors, like it's hard to just keep your body. It's a tough position physically.
Yeah. I mean, that's why that's why they have off days. That's why when you have a starting catcher, like, you're going to see Austin Hedges out there the majority of the time, but, you're going to see Jason DeLay 1 to 2 times a week just because, the body is not built to crouch like that. And even like when people say you go to the one knee position, imagine like just having your knee down on the hard ground with your padding on, for
in the heat,
9 innings. Yeah. In the heat, different stuff like that. The body is just not, built to do that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to think if there was anybody else. One of them that stuck out to me, JC Flowers being in the bullpen in AAA, which basically means Tanaj Thomas, former, top 100 prospect, is probably going to be starting in the Altoona bullpen. He pitched well in Altoona last year, was one of their de facto closers down there. But I think Altoona and Indianapolis are going to be pretty stacked for this entire season. And like you said, man, I can't stop thinking about could the AAA roster this year beat the Pirates last year? I mean, I think if
2020 year, they could.
Oh yeah, here's the thing is I'm thinking about it because like last year you had, I mean, if you had Mitch Keller towards the end of the season, but you still had Quintana, sticking around, there's probably, they'd probably, pull out those 2 wins right there, but, and I guess it also depends on, what stadium they played at as well. So, I mean, I don't know, the Vic, it's got similar dimensions. It's a pretty nice, minor league ballpark, but imagine, I'm just thinking about them playing like down in Greensboro or something. There'd be like, 30 home runs hitting the game or something.
O'Neill Cruz he looks at the ball and it goes out of the park.
Yeah, dude. And that's the crazy part of they mentioning, everybody talks about the O'Neill Cruz, Cruz missile that he hit like 111 miles per hour. It came in at 101 and he sent it back out at 111. But I'm thinking about the sac fly in the 8th inning that he just basically stuck. Like it wasn't even like a 2-handed hit. He just like kind of flicked the bat out there and gets, a sacrifice fly where like most people, if they did that, I mean, they'd probably be popping out to like the third baseman or something.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a freak. I mean, it's a great thing. I would have signed him to a 15-year deal before he even got to the pros and just said, hey, cause I don't want to risk it. But I mean, he's our Aaron Judge and I'm excited to see him play for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we have him for at least, possibly 6 years, but man, God, I wish it was more because he's still so young and
So young.
just still so athletic. Um, but we're up against it here as always. Like every single time I talk ball, everybody knows I'm going to be doing my beer reviews here. Uh, but for those that don't, you have to follow Taylor at Shop Yins. You have to go to www Shop Yins. The emphasis on the two Z's. Just announced yesterday. We have Bucs in the Basement T-shirts at the Shop Yins. We got the new Jagoff series. I love. You were talking about that last year.
Yeah.
Isn't that modeled after like one of your buddies or something?
Yeah, my cousin, he's a Jag for real. Shout out to AJ. But yeah, he's him and I are big Yinzers. We both live out of the state now, so we do a couple Pirate games a year, football games a year, one away, one home, and we just have a good time. And that's what it's kind of mimicked after him, and it's a cool logo and it's a fun logo. So I know Jagoff is supposed to be a negative term, but when you're Pittsburgh Jagoff and we're Jagoffs to everyone else, to the Cleveland fans, the Flyers fans, all that out there. So
Yeah,
it's
dude.
fun.
And I think there's a promo code for listeners here. I'm looking for it. Sorry, it's Bucks 15, and that's 15% off on the website. Correct?
That's right. Yeah. So everyone, all of Craig's listeners, and everyone that follows Bucks in the Basement and all the writings online too, 15% off every order. Just come online. Thanks for your partnership, and it's great to be here with you, man. But 15% off, yeah, to everyone listening. Whatever you want. We got hats, hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops. We got some kids stuff dropping here soon. And there's always going to be some new. We have a Raise a Jolly Roger one coming out for baseball here. Hopefully to have that up and running by next Friday. And then also be sure to follow me on social media. Everything is at Shop Yins. We do try to do monthly giveaways. And then like Craig said, we're going to have an event next week in person. We'll have some things to give out there too. You can buy some stuff in person and just hang out with us, have a beer, and get ready for some baseball at PNC Park.
Absolutely. And thanks for coming on, Taylor. Appreciate it, man. And I'll be talking to you soon, brother.
Yeah, of course.
All right, everybody. Everybody knows what time it is. Time for those beer reviews. And I had one too many of these yesterday, probably. It was opening day. I couldn't help myself. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to start off in the Rocks, McKee's Rocks. Anybody, you're talking about, Taylor's talking about being a Jagoff. Well, man, I couldn't think of a better place. It's Abjuration Brew. I can't really pronounce that. I looked it up, and it looks like it's some sort of mystical magic spell that's cast by witches or something. But man, they have this classic Indian Pale Ale series. They're on version 1.9. This one comes in about 6.7%, a little bit heavier. But I gave this on the weighted based on batting average. It comes in at a 325, the regular batting average of 375. The next one I had here was from 4 Points, and 4 Points is up by the I believe it's the Mexican War Streets. It's up by there. I've been there a couple of times before. This is their overbranded hazy double Indian Pale Ale. That one is coming in 8.5%. That's getting a little bit heavy for me. That one comes in at a 350 weighted. It goes down to a 300, but definitely stop in there. Cedarlands Brewing, and that's their West Peace Citra. It's a West Coast style IPA. I couldn't find the ABV on this one. They're kind of hiding it from me. This one comes in at 375 weighted, goes down to a 325. And then just because they were playing in Ohio yesterday, great friends over at Creekside Beer. It's the nice beer distribution. They have a great craft beer selection. They do TNT Tuesdays in a mixed thing. I went from Columbus, Ohio, and this is Hoof Hearted Brewing. And I know I gotta get, like I keep on saying, I gotta get a better thing, but you can't see this, but the name of this beer is Helmet Nachos. Like it's just a great name. And it says that it's 8% and it needs to be served at 46 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sorry, I couldn't drink it at 46 degrees. I had to drink it cold. So maybe it would get a little bit better of a score, but I gave it a 375, weighted to 325. And then because it's opening day, you guys are going to get a fifth one here. I wasn't going to do this, but what I've been sipping on here is the Gumball Head, Three Floyds. We reviewed a bunch of Three Floyds last week when we were doing Indianapolis. I did 4 of their beers, but I said Gumball Head has always been my favorite. It's a pale ale wheat. And if any beer could get like batting 1,000, it would be this one. This one's a 475, and I put it down to a 425, but it's possibly one of my favorite beers of all time. Starting to be distributed here in Western Pennsylvania, definitely over at Creekside Beer. So you can go over there, follow them, follow me at Bucs Basement, at Minor League News and Brews. Read all of mine and Gary Morgan's stuff, my editing partner over at Inside the Bucs Basement. Just follow everything you can. Watch minor league baseball. And we will be back next week, as we said, recording live from Allegheny City Brewing.